So today's the 14th of May and it's a very light wind day. The forecast actually was changing, so the wind direction coming from all over the place. So be interesting to get set up on the field. So looking at the clouds, looks like it's going to be a smooth one because there's not much sunlight around. So I set up my wing facing northeast and got these dandelions out to just make sure the wind's blowing the right direction. Then got my motor, came back, and to find that the wind has actually switched. So I had to turn my motor off and try again. So the wind has switched 180. There's not much wind, but you've got to must go into wind on takeoff. So it's less effort to change it now than to do a second launch. So let's do the switcheroo. So it's always worth spending time getting the wing laid out. It's not much fun getting clipped in and then failing a launch, especially when you've got all the winter heavy gear on. If you're not sweating on the ground before you launch, you're probably underdressed for a cross-country flight. So planning on going for 2 hours to Newmarket today, so I just want to make sure I don't fail the launch. So making sure I'm centered on the wing, making sure the wing is pointing into wind, and off we go. So it's quite cold a bit higher up, and again, as I mentioned before in another video, it's been one of the coldest springs I can remember. So got my cup of tea with me, keeping warm on this flight. This here is the Wimpole Folly. It's designed to resemble the ruins of a medieval castle built on the grounds of Wimpole Hall in the mid 1770s. I always like flying over that, it's quite close to the airfield. So. And this here is the Barrington Quarry. And it used to be a quarry, but it's now become a landfill site apparently. So I can't see much activity at the moment, but down the south side of the quarry there's a bit more going on. This is quite fun to fly over. It's quite deep. If you look carefully, you can see a little bunny is getting scared of me coming over. And he runs the wrong way. They always run the wrong way. They always try and outrun me. If they just ran the opposite way, they would be totally fine. They're so stupid. So as you can see, it is quite grey and quite overcast, which you know, it's not as nice to fly in, but it does mean that the air is very, very smooth. So I can come down low over these fields, and it's pretty safe because I'm not scared of hitting an area of sink as what would happen on a hot day. On hot days, what happens is you get these thermals which give you sudden lift, but they also give you sudden sink as well, which can catch you out. So on a day like today, it's great for doing a bit of low flying. So this here is the railway which runs between Ipswich and Cambridge, run by Greater Anglia Railway. And interestingly, it's only got one line. It's quite unusual in the UK to only see one railway line. So not very busy. I think there's one train an hour, something like that. And I'm going to follow this line all the way up to Newmarket and just fly along the railway and see what happens. So I did notice that some of the gates were closed on the roads, and which meant that a train was coming. So I kept my altitude, and there ahead of us is Newmarket town, which I'm now in Suffolk, the county of Suffolk, and Newmarket is considered the birthplace and global centre of thoroughbred horse racing, as the largest racehorse training centre in Britain, and home to most major British horse racing institutions. The Queen visits the town often to see her horses in training, and the town is home to over 3,500 racehorses and has over 50 horse training stables. So need to keep my altitude up around this town, because I know that horses get very jumpy around paramotors. So there's no horses actually on this track here. This one here is the Rowley Mile course. It's founded in 1636. Racing was first recorded around the time of James I. So it's been around a long time. And on the other side, it's pretty big. It's huge actually. On the other side, there's another course called the July course. Obviously I wouldn't fly this low if there were people around or horses. The place is pretty empty at the moment, partly due to COVID. Interestingly, here is a little runway, a little grass airstrip with a helipad at the end, so people can fly in and place their bets while they're drinking their champagne, whatever. So I'm now flying back towards Cambridge, and what I'm planning to do over Cambridge is to fly directly over it. Now, as you can see ahead, there is an airfield there. There's an airport, and I'm not allowed, without prior permission, to fly below 2,000 feet over that runway. So I got up to 3,000 feet over Cambridge, and I wanted to make sure that if I had an engine failure, I'd be able to glide away to a safe landing place. So I've got some quite high altitude over Cambridge. You could still see all of the famous buildings of Cambridge, which is great. You can't really see that on the GoPro, but it was really great to see it from this altitude. Now, I've never flown over Cambridge before, so that's pretty cool. And then I looked up and I noticed that the clouds are actually breaking up a little bit. So I thought to myself, once I've got over Cambridge, I might go up a bit higher and try and get above the clouds, and then fly above the clouds back to Little Granston. That'd be a pretty cool thing to do. So here I am, giving it some power so I can climb up to 5,000, 6,000 feet. And I actually go into the clouds a little bit, and what I was expected to see directly above me was some blue. And if I did see blue, the clouds look pretty thin. I thought I would just keep on the power and just go through, because there were holes in the clouds. But it didn't happen, so I thought to myself, well, I don't want to obviously break any air laws. As you can see there's plenty of blue up there, but I just couldn't punch the way through, and it was extremely cold. I think my left hand was numb at this point. So I decided to do that another day and just fly back to Little Granston, which is just ahead of us actually. So here I am at Little Granston, arrived at about 2,000 feet and then just had a nice gentle glide down and came in for a landing. So it's thoroughly cold at the end of it, but really, really enjoyed the flight.
Get off my GoPro. Woo!
So if you enjoyed that one, give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.